Hey guys, thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Chris. I just got done watching Aquaman. And with Aquaman, it tells the story of Arthur Curry. We get a bit of his origin story, but most importantly, he has to be given the throne of Atlantis. His half-brother, played by Patrick Wilson, King Orm, steps up to the throne and decides he wants to go at war with the land. It's here where Mara will go after Arthur Curry himself and plead that she join forces with her to stop King Orm from doing this deadly deed. So with Aquaman, we get another installment of the DCEU, and I have to say, I was pretty excited for this one. I'm surprised myself that I was excited for it because Aquaman, to me, in the Justice League movie, was my least favorite character. Nothing against Jason Momoa or even the character himself, I just don't really find this portrayal of Aquaman to be all that fun and exciting. But scratch all that with this interpretation of Aquaman. All the success that Aquaman is about to achieve, I'm going to attribute 100% to my man, James Wan. Now, being a huge fan of horror, I've grown to respect James Wan as a director for a long time with movies like Saw, what he did for the Conjuring universe, and then he was given the reins of a big budget movie, Fast and Furious 7, and then was hit with a major delay, losing one of his biggest stars tragically, and still being able to jigsaw, see what I did there? A great movie together, only challenging himself further by taking on the most laughed at hero in the DC cinematic universe. Not to mention, this cinematic universe is also dying, and he completely reinvests my interest into this world, and I just want more of James Wan interpretation of this cinematic universe. I just really can't speak more highly of James Wan and what he was able to do with this movie. I came out completely surprised in all. This movie is so epic and grand in scale. To me, this is honestly the biggest DCU movie that we've gotten, but it really is. The way they're able to tell a current story moving past the events of Justice League and still tie in his origin, set up the universe, build on characters like Mara, King Orm, or Volko, played by Willem Dafoe, and to also mention the amount of respect they give to the Black Manta character, a character I was always interested in from a kid watching the cartoons and reading some of the comics. I absolutely love the way they brought this character to the screen. Jason Momoa, while he wasn't my first choice to be Aquaman, finally seals the deal and gets me invested into his version of Aquaman because, no offense to Zack Snyder, I love what he did with Man of Steel. I completely adore that movie, but what he did with the rest of the universe, not so pleased with. And especially with the way he handled Aquaman. And James Wan, to me, metaphorically speaking, took a foster child of the character of Aquaman, gave him a nice loving home, a good meal, a roof over his head, and turned this character awesome. Every second of being in Atlantis is amazing. All these action scenes just work so perfectly. I love the track shots and elongated views that we get of all these action scenes. There is so much in this movie. Every time you think we're done with a big action scene, another one hits you in the face 10 minutes later. But bringing myself down just a few notches from the excitement, there were a few issues I had with the movie. Still, with these issues I'm about to mention, really great installment. For one, this movie is pretty damn lengthy. Now, even though I say that, even though I felt the length of this movie while I was sitting down watching it, I enjoyed how long this movie was because of everything that was packed in here. But even though I enjoyed all of that, there were a couple of scenes, maybe 3 or 4, that I felt could really have been taken out to just tighten this movie up a bit because it drags in certain parts. And while it's a roller coaster of, okay, it's a little slow here, but then something great action-packed happens. It's a little slow again, and then great and action-packed. You do feel a bit exhausted by the end of it. Along with a few of the jokes and moments of humor didn't completely land with me. Most of them did. It was a very funny movie in my opinion, but a few references and callbacks and reoccurring jokes in the movie could have really have been left out and made it just a bit silly. Those are the 2 lingering things that I thought about when the movie ended, but even with that said, I still really enjoy this movie. I would put it on par with Wonder Woman. I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but it definitely exceeded my expectations of what I was hoping to get from an Aquaman movie. Alright, so for Aquaman, I'm gonna give action 4.5 stars. I cannot stress enough how amazing the action sequences are, and the fact that there is no shortage of them and just plenty of them in the movie is just awesome. Comedy in the film, I'm gonna give it 2.5 stars. Like I said, not every joke landed. There were a lot of silly moments and reoccurring jokes that I felt could have been left out, but most of them do land. Drama in the film, I'm gonna give it 3 stars just for the sheer fact that everything James Wan was able to pack in, his origin story, a current running story to expand the cinematic universe, give a lot of depth to the villains, and just wrap that all very happily by the end of it and stick that landing. Just great job, James Wan. Horror in the film, I am gonna give a star too because there's one scene in particular, a whole sequence when they're fighting these creepy looking things, and there was a baby and a child in my theater that started crying when this came up. And suspense in the film, I'm gonna give it 3 stars because I do believe, coming from a horror background, James Wan was able to capture those suspenseful moments very well. Casual fans, I'm gonna give it an A+. Cinephiles, I'm gonna give it an A-. And critically, I'm going to give it a B-. For Aquaman, I suggest you add this to your collection at home.
That's a keeper.
Really just tons of fun with this movie. Such a crowd pleaser, such a blockbuster of a film. This really should have came out in the summer, but I still enjoyed it nonetheless. I think a lot of us are going to be happy and looking forward to this cinematic universe, and I haven't been this excited for the DC universe since the release of Wonder Woman. And now the fact that we have Shazam and Wonder Woman 2 coming out next year looks pretty promising so far. But let me know what you thought about Aquaman if you got around to see it, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at 3C Film Review. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.